How do you unmute this thing? Oh, right. That's how. I remember all these buttons and what they do. Like this button. Woo! Hello. Not sure why that's on screen. Hello, Sasha Starchenko. Welcome to the live stream. Oh, it's good to be back. It is good to be back, you guys. And so far, Blunty, has there been any technical issues yet?
Not yet.
Oh, including the technical issue of you being able to be heard. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Amazing. After nearly 2 months without touching my streaming setup, I was sure that things would get screwed up. And they were a little bit, but we sorted it out. How do I look? Do I look any older? Blunty, what do you think? Do I look any older?
No, I don't think so.
The same. Yeah, good.
Surprisingly, 6 weeks is not drastically aged that I can tell.
You say that, but my 4-year-old definitely got older in the 2 months I was gone, but it's a little different when you're my age versus when you're 4. So. I'll tell you what happened. I'll let you in on a little thing. Before I left, he said, how did he say my name? He didn't say the sh in Joshua. He said Jasha or Jacha. And now he says Joshua. So cat's in the cradle, silver spoon, etc.
Nice.
Welcome back. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the chat to see if there's any. It seems like the video quality isn't good. Reload the stream. Try reloading the stream. Yeah. Don't even recognize me. Did I lose weight? I don't think I lost weight. The scale doesn't say I lost weight, I assure you. But I appreciate the kind words. Mupshot thinks we need an abbreviated version of the opening stream. You go to hell. We're listening to the whole song.
You just show up a minute late, and you'll be good. Right?
Yeah, you just show up. We listen. At least. But I did take the chat suggestion. The chat said that they didn't want to see Vengend on screen, as much as I love that graphic. The chat said that they would rather see me on screen because they come here for me. And I thought, okay, I can, I could take that criticism. I like criticism that goes, we like you better than this other person. Okay, I will acquiesce. We're back. We're doing as always, we're doing a Q&A. You guys will ask questions, and I will do my best to answer the questions. And I have no idea what those questions are going to be. What's happened in the world of FPV since I was gone? Anything exciting happened, Blenty?
Oh, nothing. Oh, nothing.
Nothing too
big?
No
new products. No new products.
Yeah. Still in box. People were like, why haven't you reviewed the new goggles? It's like, I was gone. I wasn't even in the country. They were like, did they? And I feel bad because a couple people were like, did Walk Snail like stiff you? Did they cut you out? And I was like, no, because people were like prepared to be annoyed at Walk Snail for like, how dare they not include Bardwell in their product release? Like, no. I just was, and I felt bad that I missed it, but like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I haven't even unboxed these yet. Let's save that. Let's not do that right now. We'll put that on the back. It'll just tease you guys. So I thought I would share with you guys. I got one of the things. This was a work trip. I was gone on work. I was doing FPV related stuff for money. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but when Michael Bay's next movie comes out, you watch the credits and you won't see me in the, no. But I did get to visit. I don't know if he's watching. I don't see Fabio in the chat. I did get to visit Fabio. That's my editor, Fabio. Oh, the double Joshua here. We'll turn the face cam off. That's my editor, Fabio, and his, pretty sure they're married, wife, Maria. And they hosted me in Ticino, Switzerland, where they live. And it was the first time I'd met him face to face, which was really nice to get to hang out with him. I mean, we've worked together for like 5 years. And so he is Italian, so he cooked me some lovely, lovely food. And let's see, I got to see mountains. Like, Jesus, Switzerland, do you have enough mountains? Like just everywhere you look, mountains. This part of the trip wasn't work. I mean, technically it was work because I'm going to write it off as a work expense, but it was team building. It was like after my 6-week work trip, then I'm going to take like 4 days and swing through Switzerland and visit Fabio. Got to see all kinds of things, learn some things about European license plates. I learned that European license plates are assigned to the person, and then the person can like resell the license plate. They can auction it off. And so low numbered license plates like this one, Lucerne 165, a low numbered license. See, look at this one over here, 182,068. This 165 license plate, Fabio estimated would sell for about 100,000 euros. So that's interesting. Let's see what else. There's just a ton of pictures here. There we are.
So we have a pistachio panini. That's not how I would say. Yeah.
Oh no, it won't play. We're gonna have a technical issue.
The guy from New York would say it like that.
Anyway, that's how I could show you. I could show you lots and lots of pictures from. I got to go to frickin' Milan. He took me to Milan. I got to go up on the fucking just unbelievable Gothic church in Milan. Yeah, like unreal. Blunty, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding when I tell you, like we were outside this church and the outside was pretty cool. Let me show you the outside. So here's what it looks like from the outside. And like, I'm like, that's pretty cool. Wow, pretty epic. And Fabio was like, well, it's like 30 euros to go in. And I was like, 30 euros. Come on. That's too much to go in. He was like, come on, let's do it. I've never been inside either. So we all went inside. And you step inside. And I swear to God, like, it literally, like, was breathtaking. Like, you say something's breathtaking. But when I stepped inside this freaking church, literally for a second, like it was breathtaking. And I can certainly imagine how this was built in, like, I don't know, like 1400 or something. Maybe, I don't know the exact. I think it was around then. Like, I could imagine how if you're like a peasant in 1400 and you go into this church, you'd be like, oh yeah, oh, God exists. This absolutely unreal. So, but that's what I did. That's what I did, among other things. And now I'm back. Yeah, well worth 30 years. Like, I'm not kidding. And I'm not like, I think I'm a pretty cynical person. And it takes a lot to, like, get me to be emotionally moved. Like, I'm not completely cold and dead inside. But if you're like, isn't that cool? I'll be like, yeah, okay, it's cool, whatever. But, like, when I walked inside this church, like, for the first, like, 10 minutes, I'm just looking around and I'm kind of feeling weepy. Because it's just so overwhelming. And then it got, old. Anyway. Blenty, how's the stream look? I'm showing no dropped frames. A couple of people are saying the stream is glitchy. You got everything good for you?
I'm not watching the stream. I'm watching the direct feed. Okay. But as long as you don't have any dropped frames, then that's got to be on YouTube's side.
Okay. So. I don't know what to tell you guys, but there you go. Anyway, let's get some questions queued up. Blunty is queuing up the questions. Good to be back with you, sir. How was your 2 months of not live streaming?
It was nice. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
You play any games?
A lot of games. It's been a big game year, so there's been a lot to play. Alan Wake 2.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you like story in games, go play Alan Wake 2. Go play Alan Wake and then go play Control and then go play Quantum Break and then go play Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, okay. So you should definitely play Alan Wake 1 first.
You can not, but it's way better if you do.
Yeah. I've never played Control. I did play Alan Wake 1. Thought it was really good.
All interconnected. It's like the MCU. If you don't watch like 5 of the different shows, then you try to watch one of the big movies, you're like, those are people. But I don't know who they are.
That was one of the things that made me less interested in the Marvel movies, was the feeling that if I didn't watch them all compulsively, I was missing out. I do that with video games too. I'm a completionist at heart, but I don't have the stamina. So I'll start Act 1 of the game, and I'll try to like 100% Act 1, and then I get bored and tired and lose interest. And I'm like, if I just shut the fuck up and finish the game and not worry about it, I'd probably have more fun.
Yeah, I'll say for anybody who liked Control, okay, I'll say 2 things. One, okay. I'm going to say something about Alan Wake 2. It's not going to be a spoiler at all. But if you're one of those people who's like, I don't want to know anything happens in the game at all.
Okay.
Don't listen to this for 5 seconds.
Okay, cover your ears.
There's a better thing than the ashtray maze from Control in Alan Wake 2.
Wow.
If you played Control. So it's one of the best things I've ever seen in a video game ever.
Wow. That's
and it's a totally different thing than I've ever experienced in a video game. So just like,
that's
it's
amazing.
Really good.
That's amazing. Yeah. All right. I am currently, so I had a trip overseas, so I knew I was going to be on the plane for a long time. And every time I do this, like when I went to China years ago, in like 2018, I went to China and I bought Fallout 4 and The Witcher 3. On the idea that I would play, I had 12 hours on the plane. I'd play them. Played them for like an hour each, then went back to doing whatever I was doing. Didn't do it. This time I bought Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm maybe 3/4 of the way through Act 1, I would guess, and having a good time with it. So, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to take your questions. Blunty is going to be queuing up questions, just like so. Blunty's queuing the questions up here, and I will be answering the questions. If you guys would like to leave a super chat, remember how that works. You can leave a super chat, hit the $ down here at the bottom of the screen of your chat. I will be reading those periodically. And we're going to start off, as we always do, though, with some regular questions. And we will, let's see, where are we going to start? Let me look through here. Excuse me. Terribly rude. Where was the one? Exiled FPV wants to know, are you going to be taking down your other FPV 101 playlist? Are there any talks of a follow-up to Flow State? So Exiled FPV, I am redoing my How to Fly, my FPV 101 playlist. This was one of the very, very first pieces of content that I made back in, it has to have been like 2016 or 2017, probably 2016, I would guess. And the content in it was very good. I still stand by the actual way that I teach people to fly, but the production quality was terrible. I didn't know at the time enough about audio engineering, and there were times when I was like talking into the mic and the mic was clipping and distorting awfully. So I've actually had that playlist unlisted for a long time just because it's so old and it reflects, I think, really badly on the quality of the channel. But I started, so I was like, well, let's redo it. Let's just redo it. I say that because I have been, in the last few years, some of the times when I go away and I'm not live streaming, I'm actually teaching people how to fly. Somebody out there decided they wanted their employees to learn how to fly, and they decided I was the guy to do it, among others. And so I actually have had a lot of practice in the last few years with taking people who've never flown before and teaching them how to fly. And I've kind of refined the methods, and I thought, well, it's a good time for me to put this all down and share it with the world, because that's what I do. So I don't think I'll be taking the other one down. It's already unlisted, but I will definitely I prefer that people use the newer one once it's finished, because I think it's going to be better. Are there any talks of a follow-up to Flow State? No, there aren't. I love the Flow State is the FPV drone documentary. I may as well. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this. I should let people know. Should make a big announcement about this. Actually, Flow State is now free on YouTube. Yeah, you didn't know that. You didn't know that because it hadn't happened until very recently in the last few months. What happened was, so why isn't it on my channel, right? Why didn't I just post it? We had actually thought about doing that, but the company that we use to put Flow State on, like Amazon Prime and other streaming services, they put it on YouTube. And at first I said, well, you should just put it on my channel. But then I saw that the channel that they put it on had 176 million subscribers, and I decided that might be better than putting it on my channel. So actually, haven't looked at the comments recently. Lots of shout outs. 159. They don't make their view count visible, unfortunately. I don't know why. This video is not monetized. Why is it not monetized? That doesn't seem right. Well, anyway. Regardless, it is now available for free. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch it, I would hope that it's monetized. I would hope that they show ads, because I would hope that they're paying me for showing my movie. It seems like the kind of thing they would do. I'm going to just assume. But as far as a follow-up goes, no, there are no talks of a follow-up to Flow State. I've always been really frank about what went into making that film, and really straightforward about the things that could have been done better. The film, I spent between $30,000 and $40,000 all in on that film. Suffice it to say, I'm still in the red. I'm very happy when I started making the film. And by the way, I should give credit to James Christensen, who was my partner in making the film. He basically did all of the creative work, and I basically put up the money. And also, as the guy who put up the money, I sometimes had creative input, but mostly everything you see on screen is his work. And he really should get most of the credit for actually making the film. I think my credit was executive producer, and if you're in the film industry, you know exactly what that means in terms of what I brought to the table. But when we started making the film, we both had the idea for how to make the film and wanted to contribute to making the film. And I thought, this is something I want to do, and if I never make a penny on it, I'll still be happy that I did it and have something that I can look at and be proud of. I love FPV and the culture of FPV, and I wanted to make this film that could sort of memorialize, if you will, the state of FPV in the 2020, 2021 timeframe, talk about the history and so on. I wanted to have something I could show my kids or my grandkids someday and go, this is something that was really important to me and hopefully still is. But as far as making a second one goes, it doesn't seem like I know how to make a profitable film, and I feel like that's the amount of money I would like to flush down the drain on unprofitable films, at least for now. I guess that's the most charitable way to put it.
People are asking if you have any control over the regions where it's available. Like if you could ask for them to open it up to more regions, or it's just like some kind of limitation. Because people in Europe and other locations are saying they can't see it.
They can't see it on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we can certainly try. I'm going to guess that has to do with the YouTube movies and TV channel and the other content they have there, but I don't know. We can go back to Film Hub and try to get that opened up. But sometimes there are aspects of it that we don't have control over. I mean, I could still just put it up on my channel. I don't know why. I mean, I don't see why I wouldn't do that. I'd probably get more money in terms of ad revenue. Anyway, any other questions about that, Blinty, before we move on?
No, I think we mainly covered that. Also, okay. I think they probably monetize those movies differently because it says free with ads, like in a little green box under it. So maybe even though it's not normally monetized, it's like movie monetized.
Well, I suspect the page hadn't finished loading yet. I think it hadn't finished loading yet. It was like lagging. Okay, let's continue. Can you suggest me a GPS for return to home? An M10 GPS these days is the one to get. I think that there are some issues with the iFlight M10 GPS. iFlight sent me a bind and fly where I had really bad performance on the GPS, and they said there was an issue with it. So I don't know if that's been fixed, but I might stay away from the iFlight M10 GPS. But the number one thing I would look for is an M10. I don't have a specific make or model. Like I had good luck with the Flywoo ones, but that's just a sample size of one. Let's see here. Did you run iNav on your Chimera? My Chimera 7 Pro? No, I did not. It was running Betaflight. There you go. Here's a question. I can't decide between a 5-inch Evoke and a 6-inch Evoke for light freestyle and cinematic stuff. I would probably do the 6-inch, since if you said like hardcore freestyle, it'd be the 5-inch. If your description is light freestyle and cinematic stuff, I think I would get the 6-inch. You have to be aware that your prop selection in 6-inch is going to be much smaller. There's just not a lot of 6-inch props out there to pick from, so you're going to give that up. But cinematic stuff generally is slower, smoother, and more flowy, and 6-inch is going to give you a little bit more stability and a little bit longer flight time. That being said, 5-inch is also going to be fine. You're going to have a lot better prop selection if you want to play with different props. And 5-inch is going to have less issues with vibration. The larger the prop, the more you have to deal with vibration. And so you may actually get better cinematic results with a 5-inch than with a 6-inch. If you're not sure, probably get the 5-inch. It's the safer bet. Does analog video range depend on the goggles or only the VTX? It absolutely does depend on the goggles. When you think about an RF link, any radio link, there are several pieces of the chain. There's the transmitter and like the output power of the transmitter. There's the transmit antenna. There's the receiver antenna, and there's the receiver module. And every part of this affects the total range that you can get out of the system. So you're going to get much better usable range if you have something like a TBS Fusion module or a rapid fire module than if you have a different module, because the actual receiver chip in the Fusion and the rapid fire is actually more sensitive and can recover a signal at a weaker signal strength than the chip, the cheaper chip that's used in some other goggles. You're also going to have the antennas on the goggles that are going to affect the range. If you have a high gain antenna on the goggles, you're going to get better range as long as the antenna is pointed at the drone. So it absolutely does depend on the goggles, and specifically the receiver module, not the goggles per se. Let's see. Oh, I see why Renee Wilson, thank you for a $5 super chat. Did you set up iNav on the Chimera? I did not. Do you still have the configuration settings? I do not. Enough said. Maybe I'll do that, but not today. I have not done it yet, so. Well, as long as I'm doing super chats, it's about a half hour in. It's time to get some super chats. Thank you, Demir FPV. We missed you, Joshua. And for 22 TRY. What's a TRY? I don't recognize that one. Turkish lira. Well, thank you for 22 Turkish lira. Exiled FPV, thanks for a $2 super chat. Boner FPV, thank you for a €6 super chat. If you want your house built in Velocidrone, let me know and I can build it for you. I already made your yard with your Trek. Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay. I don't know. You don't even really need my permission. But sure. I'm sure people would love that. And we'd love to put it on the news. I just ordered HD0 goggles. What's a great, quiet 2 to 3S front yard freestyle whoop without prop guards? Thank you for a $5 super chat, Curtis Hayes. I think I would point you towards something like the Flywoo 2-inch. What was it? I can't remember if it's called the Dragonfly, but the Flywoo Baby Nano 2S. It's a 2-inch drone, runs on 2S batteries. It doesn't have prop guards and it flies really well. If you're thinking about 3S, you might be going more up to like a 3-inch toothpick style drone, like the Crux 3.5. If you're going to go to 3S and 3-inch, you may as well go to 3.5-inch, in my opinion, because it's going to fly better and it's not going to be that much louder, more expensive. I'm not sure if the Crux 3.5 runs on 3S or 4S, but something like the Crux 3.5 if you want to go the next step up. And thank you to Odie5 for €5, who says, nice to have you back. That's it. We're caught up on super chats. We can go back to answering questions from the regular folks. The folks who didn't pay money. Oh, man. Haha. Pink Kaju asks, Blunty, I don't even know if you queued this question up, but I saw it. How good is Min Chan Kim really? He's really good. He's the best. He's certainly in contention for the best. If you're wondering, does Min Chan Kim just look good on YouTube, but in real life he's not that impressive? Nope. He's just that impressive in real life. I will say that in real life, if you watch him race, if you watch him practice the stuff he uploads to YouTube, it's just mind-bogglingly perfect. And that's him at his best, right? If you watch him race, sometimes he is less than perfect because he's under pressure and it's not sort of cherry-picking the best lap of the day, right? So, like anyone, he's not as perfect in real life as he is on YouTube. See what I mean? but he's still the best pilot you've ever seen by a mile. Even like when he's like just, when he's at like 75% just warming up, he's at 60% just warming up, he's the best pilot you've ever seen. And then when he goes hard and he gets to like 90 or 95% because he's trying to win a race, sometimes he makes a mistake and he's less than perfect, but he is just as good in real life. Yep. There's no, I mean, anybody when they're trying to push the envelope is going to make mistakes, right? And anybody in the heat of competition is going to be less than perfect. But what you see on his YouTube channel is representative of his real skill level. It's not like sped up or faked or like it's one pack out of 200. That stuff you see on his YouTube channel is like one pack out of 15 where he had a really good lap or something. I don't know. That's what I would say. Okay. One IFPV. Nope, sorry, Robbie FPV. I'll get your question, Robbie. One IFPV. I was under the impression all analog receiver modules are using the RX 5808. No, that's not true. The RX 5808 is used on most of them, but I have to go back to a video put out by LiveU FPV where the TBS Fusion, the V2 of the TBS Fusion, the V1 of the TBS Fusion. Wow. Can I possibly find this old video where he tore this thing apart and talked about the difference? Did he? It's in the upgraded Fusion module. This is the hardware upgrade. Where does he talk about the actual... Hello. Oh, wow. I'm really roasting him here. That's not the video I'm looking for. Is it this? Is it this one? Maybe it's this one. Yes. No music. I don't want to get copy struck. So this is the video. I'm going to put it in the chat. And you guys can go find it. This is where he goes into the hardware and talks about the difference in the chips. RTC 6715, is that it? I don't think it's... Yeah. So it looks like the high-end modules use the RTC 6715 instead of the RX 5808. Maybe. But I could also be getting some details wrong. People who know, is the RTC 6715 an alternative to the RX 5808? Is that, am I remembering correctly? Because it's been a while since I thought about this. There you go. And that's what makes those higher end modules so much better, is they have a more sensitive chip.
But they're also doing work to the signal, right? Because they're frame, like...
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
But so they're doing frame combining and sync reconstruction, which gives you a more stable image. But the V1 of the TBS Fusion performed significantly worse than the rapid fire. And then the V2 of the Fusion, it performed better than a different RX 5808 module because it had frame combining and sync reconstruction. But it didn't perform as good as the rapid fire, is my recollection when I tested them. This was a while ago, though. And then V2 of the Fusion came out, and V2 had the upgraded FM chip, and then it was immediately on par with the rapid fire. So. Yeah. Okay. Do we need is there something going on in the chat that requires a moderator? Is there some spam going on in the chat, guys? Yeah, it looks like there is. Can anyone with moderator permission look back through the chat and see if somebody needs to be put in timeout? That would be great. No, don't block them, but just time them out. Thank you. I make a whole bunch of people moderators just because I like seeing their names in blue. Hi, Garderoto. Hi, Confused. Hi, Mike Bergman. Hi, Captain Bry. But they actually are technically moderators and can moderate if they choose to. Let's take this question that I misclicked from Robbie FPV. It seems only fair. Why are lots of people moving over to Express LRS? I've been on Crossfire for many years, never had a problem. Yeah, Crossfire is great. Crossfire is great. I'm not going to take this opportunity to go on a big Crossfire versus Express LRS rant. We've done that, and you can go to the Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips channel if you want to check that out. I'm sure if we go, it's called, in case you didn't know, Joshua Bardwell Livestream. Blunty, you must be so glad to get more Livestream clips to post.
Yeah, it's been a while.
If I search Crossfire on this channel, boom, Crossfire versus Express LRS. There's like a million examples of me talking about the pros and cons. Jesus Christ, pardon me, Christians who don't like me to say that. I've done this so many times. So we're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is say, in short, many people are switching away from Crossfire because they can't freaking buy Crossfire. It's out of stock everywhere, they say. I haven't looked recently. Right? So, like, at this point, somebody's going to be like, oh, no, it's in stock. It's in stock right now. But people talk to me and they say, Crossfire's out of stock. I can't buy it. What should I do? Yeah, bingo. In stock. Shut the hell up. God dang it. Dang it. What about in Europe? Maybe it's out of stock in Europe. It's in stock. Anyway, that's a reason people are moving away from it. So, some people. They say they can't find it in stock. But Crossfire is great. Yeah, if you're happy with Crossfire, ooh, Fly High FPV has it. Fly High FPV in stock. Great. The other thing that makes people switch from Crossfire is they want lower latency. Why do they want lower latency? Because lower number better. Can anyone tell the difference? I'm not even going to touch it. I'm not even going to touch that argument. They think they can tell the difference, or they want to play with it, and so they want to switch. The other thing, last thing, way less expensive. You can get a Express LRS receiver for about $15. Crossfire Nano X, $30. Crossfire Diversity, $50. Express LRS, $15, $20, maybe $25. So it's about half as expensive. Those are some of the reasons people move. You don't agree with those reasons? Don't move. All right, let's take this question from Nological. What are your opinions on the new Walksnail X goggles? Well, I will tell you, although I haven't even unboxed my goggles yet, I did watch Mads Tech's review the minute it came out. I watched it with great jealousy because I like to be a part of the big review party. I like to have my, hat thrown in the ring, my opinion thrown in the ring. And I was a little jealous that I wasn't there and he was. But I have, started to form some opinions about these goggles. And I will say, if you are a Walksnail pilot first, I think these goggles are very tempting. And the reason that they're tempting is not the reason that you probably think. Well, maybe it is. The reason that they're tempting is that Walksnail says they're working on a new V2 of their radio system that has significantly better range and penetration than the current one. And these goggles will support that system. This top cover comes off, and the radio board is modular. So when Walksnail releases their new system, these goggles are going to support it, and the V1 goggles presumably will not. I'm going to guess that they will not. Otherwise, why did Walksnail make these goggles and not just keep making the other goggles? I don't know. So people right now are buying the V1 Walksnail goggles at a significant discount. Rotor Riot just marked them down, actually. Maybe that's why they marked them down. People were like, why are they marking them down? Maybe it has something to do with the release of the Goggles X and the knowledge that a new system is coming. But hang on, don't freak out. What are they down to now? Fat Shark Avatar goggles. Avatar. Oh my god. I don't understand. Why?
Dominator HD, right? It's not Avatar on their site.
Right. Nonsense. $380, right? That's really inexpensive. And this is a good goggle. It's well made. The main thing that the V1 goggle is lacking, that this Goggles X has, is HDMI pass-through and HDMI out. This goggle has USB out, but the Goggle X actually has HDMI, true HDMI. And then the other thing is that it has HDMI ins. So the Goggle X you could use with an HD0 standalone receiver, for example. And it has pass-through, which even the HD0 goggle doesn't have, as far as I know. So the concern that I have is if somebody was to buy the Dominator goggles today, or the Avatar V1, would they then not be able to take advantage of this new radio system that Walksnail says is coming? However, we have to remember that Walksnail has a history of teasing stuff that it takes them for freaking ever to actually release. They usually, historically, they do release it. When the Avatar goggle first released, Walksnail teased that they were working on a low latency racing mode. And then nothing happened for like 2 years. And then, whoa, low latency racing mode came out. Took a long freaking time. They teased these features. They have currently teased a video transmitter with HDMI input. That's pretty cool. When's it coming? Don't know. So Walksnail has said, I think they said August 2024 as the anticipated release date for their new V2 system with like 5 times the range and I don't know, blah, 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 promise the moon. So it's really tough to decide you're going to buy a product based on something that even Walksnail says will not happen for like 9 months. Since historically that means it won't happen for like 18 months or maybe more. But when it does happen and when it does live up to promises, it's going to be exciting. That's a lot of ifs though. The other thing is that like these goggles have just barely started hitting customers' hands. I have every expectation that the ones they sent to reviewers are wonderful, I hope. When there are 2,000 of these goggles in customers' hands, then we can start to form an opinion about them, because it's really too early now to really know. I mean, that's true of every new product, but like in this case, we have a brand new product made by Walksnail, and they don't, like when Skyzone releases a new goggle, just to pick on somebody, Skyzone knows how to make goggles. So when they release a new goggle, they have a certain amount of trust that they haven't done anything stupid and screwed it up. When Fat Shark releases a new goggle, we know exactly the dumb things that they're going to do. Right? Because they're the same dumb things that they've done for the last 5 goggles. But in general, we know that a Fat Shark goggle is going to be a solid piece of hardware that's going to work and perform pretty much as expected. This is Walksnail's first goggle. The Avatar goggle was, in my opinion, primarily designed by Fat Shark. Walksnail did the firmware. This is my speculation. This is not facts. But I believe that Walksnail did the firmware and the operating system. Fat Shark did the hardware design. Now Walksnail have done the hardware design on this one. I'm confident that Fat Shark was not involved because they don't have an SD card slot right in the middle of the forehead. And I just feel like the decisions that were made here were not Fat Shark decisions. So it's very tempting. Yeah.
Since we're on goggles, do you want to talk about the 04 Pro that came out?
What's an 04 Pro? I don't know about this.
Skyzone 04X Pro. They released a new version of the 04X.
Really? No, I didn't know. I don't know anything about this.
Oh, okay.
So I guess I'll talk about it. Obviously, I will just look at the webpage, form an opinion, and immediately start blathering. Right? That's what we do on live streams, isn't it? Skyzone, what's different about the O4X Pro, Blunty? Is it, let's see, 52-degree field of view. That's enormous.
Yeah, new OLED panel.
Oh, 16:9 OLED panel. That's interesting. I'm glad it's a 52-degree field of view because with a widescreen, that's actually probably about the same 4:3 field of view. I haven't done the math. 100 FPS frame rate. Oh, I see what they're doing. They want to be used with a Walksnail VRX. Is that right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Unfortunately, no.
Well, then what?
I think they have a bandwidth issue with their goggles. I don't know this for sure, but the way they've listed them, if you scroll down on the right, there's a table.
What?
Check out where it says HDMI in at the bottom blue section.
720p 100.
That's but not 1080 100, right?
Yeah, no, but I know why that is. I already know why that is. So HD0, I'll bet this is the same OLED panel used by HD0. Actually, frankly, there's very few high frame rate OLED microdisplays that anyone can buy. And when HD0 came out, HD0 said, or Rotor Riot told me, I don't remember who told me this, that it was the exact same OLED panel in the HD0 goggles as in the Walksnail goggles. Because there's just not that many OLED microdisplays that support high frame rate. So then the question was, why didn't the HD0 goggles support high frame rate? They only went up to 90 FPS, not 100 FPS, like Walksnail. And Carl said the official specs for the panel don't support 1080-100. They only support 1080-90. And the statement, I don't want to attribute direct quotes to anyone in particular because this is all in my memory. So we'll take that as a sort of a caveat on the whole thing. But he said basically that Walksnail is overdriving the panels outside their normal specs to reach 100 frames per second. And then HD0 goggles now support 720p 100 so that they can be used with the Walksnail VRX. And the idea, as you suggested, Blunty, is it's a bandwidth issue. At 720p 100, it's okay, and the panel isn't being overdriven and damaged. But at 1080p 100, it would be. But they can run 1080p 90 and be within spec. So I'm going to guess that's why. That I'm going to guess it's the exact same panel that's used in the HD0 goggles and the Avatar goggles, and they're doing the same thing that HD0 did by limiting it to 720p.
Gotcha. Somebody in chat said that the Walksnail VRX doesn't do 1080-100, but I thought maybe I'm confused. I thought that was.
It doesn't. But I think so. Again, we're getting hazy in. Do you remember this with me? Originally, the HD0 goggle wouldn't do the 100 FPS. It would only do 90 FPS for the HD0 camera. It would not do 100 FPS and could not be used with the high frame rate of the Walksnail VRX. And do you agree?
Yes.
And then people were like, "Wah, it'll do 90 FPS. Well, I want to do 100 FPS." And Carl was like, "That's out of spec." And then the firmware changed, and suddenly the goggle did 720p 100. And it was like, well, okay, at 720p we can push it. That's I'm pretty confident about that stuff. So that's, again, I feel like this goggle is tailored straight for the digital receivers, the HD0 90 FPS and the Walksnail 100 FPS. And other than that, it's probably just a Skyzone. But that's cool.
Yeah, you also lose quadversity, which I don't know
nobody
how many
was
people
fucking,
are actually doing
Nobody
that,
was fucking using quadversity anyway. They were all using... No, I don't know. Maybe they were. Does it have the new Skyzone module in it? The newest, bestest Skyzone module? Right? You know what I mean? Does it come with a module at all?
It's not the SteadyView X. It's a SteadyView V3.3.
The SteadyView X is the one that's like rapid fire infusion.
I think the SteadyView X is the fancy one, right?
No, it should really come with a fancy one.
Well, the Steady View is supposed to be like rapid fire, but in testing it wasn't. And then they made the better one, and I believe it's still going to have the same like weird compatibility issues with a few cameras that people still report. But I'm not 100% sure.
The Steady View X is just the Steady View X.
Oh, did we figure out that was just that board in a different thing?
Yeah, the Steady View X is just a Steady View module in a case. Is my recollection.
So then it should be the newest module.
This is the newest, bestest SteadyView analog module. Should be on par with Rapid Fire and Fusion. So good. What we've got here, is this better than the HD0 goggles in some ways? Because it's an analog.
It doesn't come with the HD0 VRX. That's the problem, right? So it depends on what you're. It depends on it depends on how much you care about analog. I think because if you're buying the Bay plus a Rapid Fire. Yeah, and you're paying another $200 for HD0 goggles, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're going to pay another $200 for the HD0 module. So then there's like a choice of like which do I want to have?
With the HD0 goggles, you could have analog, walk-snail, and HD0 on one goggle. It's going to be a clunky mess, but you can't do it. With these, you would have to swap between HD0 and walk-snail if you wanted them mounted on the goggle.
Yep. I wonder. Yeah.
$500. How much are HD0 goggles? $600.
Yeah, they're marked down to $500. But they come. I'm guessing this is like a release thing, right?
But the HD0 goggles come with an HD0 receiver, right?
Right.
This plus an HD0 receiver.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing is like you're spending $200 for the HD0 receiver, or you're spending $200 for quality premium analog that should be comparable to the new SteadyView module, right?
So price-wise, the Sky 04X Pro beats the HD0 by about $100.
Yeah, if you were going to slap a Rapid Fire in the module in the Bay on the HD0 goggles, I think it does beat the price.
Interesting. Well, Sky Zone, we're trying to stay relevant. Isn't that interesting? I guess another question you could ask, and I don't know the answer, is would you rather have like a Sky Zone? I think it depends on what your primary system is. I think that's what it comes down to. If your primary system is walk-snail, then the Goggles X start to look really appealing. But as soon as you add an analog system, like the Goggle X support for analog is really clunky. Like they don't have an analog DVR, which if you fly analog, you want a DVR. Like it's really dumb that they don't. Have they fixed that in a firmware update yet? I think I heard that they can't fix that in a firmware update.
Yeah, I think that was Madstech's reporting, was that it wasn't fixable.
Yeah. So like if you care at all about analog, the fact that the Goggles X don't have an analog DVR is going to be a deal breaker for you. You'd be like, okay, well that's just clearly not an option. So then if you're big into analog, then either you might look at this new Sky Zone, or you might look at the HD0, which has an amazing analog. It has like a comb filter, and it's got one of the best analog receivers, or analog sort of, is it a receiver? It's not the receiver. Analog displays, let's put it that way, and a great analog DVR. All right. Well, I think we've talked about that enough. Let's pick another question. What happened with the Fat Shark Dominators? And is it true customers cannot get support from Rotor-Riot and Cadex? What you're getting at there is that if you buy the Fat Shark Dominators, you will get support from Rotor-Riot or Fat Shark. Fat Shark and Rotor-Riot are sister companies. You'll get support from Fat Shark, and if you buy the Avatar goggles, you'll get support from walk-snail or Cadex. But Cadex isn't going to support a Dominator goggle because it's not their product. And somehow or another, it comes back to money. That's my take on that. Where can I find info on filtering? Chris Rosser's videos about filtering are absolutely the gold standard these days. To know if you've got enough filtering and what the signs of not enough filtering are. In short, if you have hot motors, then you might need more filtering. If you have really rough sounding motors, or if your quad kind of tends to want to fly away, or if the motors don't slow down when you lower the throttle, but it kind of goes, then you might need more filtering. But there's a lot more to it than that, and you should keep that in mind. How can I make a 6S battery work with a 4S quad? Asks Raven Hash. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to go into the Betaflight PID tuning tab and find the motor output limit. And you're going to set the motor output limit to, well, technically you would set it to 66%, which would lower the RPM down. But too low of a motor output limit can cause problems. And I usually like to use about 75%. You'll get a little more RPM, but the motors will still probably be okay unless you have really high kV motors. And then you also just need to make sure that all your electronics can handle 6S voltage, which most electronics today are rated up to 6S, but not all. The days when you would have a 4S ESC getting fried by a 6S battery are mostly gone. Best analog goggles for under $200. Can you still get the Cobra X? I think the Cobra X is $250, $270. What about the Cobra S? How much is the Cobra S? $169. Probably the Sky Zone Cobra S, if you can find it. And then the other one is the EV800DM, which is like not a great goggle, but it's only $85 and it will get you in the air. Is there a way to flash a LBT radio to FCC? Yes. Assuming you're talking about FreeSky, you can flash different firmware to the radio and the receiver, and it will change the region. You just need to download the FCC firmware. Yeah, go ahead, Blunty.
Same for Express LRS. They sell radios as a LBT and FCC, but you can also just flash the internal module to whichever.
Yep. In Access, in FreeSky Access, I think it's just a software setting. I don't even think it's different firmware. Let's see here. Is the Tyro 79 a good first build? Could you still buy the Tyro 79? I mean, that's a blast from the past. Eachine Tyro 79 Pro, September 2022, August 2022. Can you still buy the Tyro 79? Buy at Banggood. Is it in stock? Does it exist? No, page not found. So it really depends on the price. No, you can't get it anymore. I'm not sure that you can still buy the Tyro 79. So as always, when you're watching videos, reviewing a product, the very first thing you should do is you should look and see if the damn product still exists. Because things move fast, and even 6 months or a year could mean a product simply doesn't exist anymore. Maybe AliExpress. Come on, AliExpress. Come through for me. Only 0 left. The Tyro 79 was a very inexpensive first build. And for the price, most people who built it felt like they got their money's worth. However, many corners were cut. Like, we have to acknowledge that. It's like, you know, you go to Taco Bell and you get a 89-cent soft taco or whatever they are. And like, as you're eating it, you're not thinking, wow, this is really good. You're like, yeah, that's pretty good. I'm happy. Or maybe you hate yourself. I don't know. But the point is, you buy an 89-cent soft taco from Taco Bell, and you know what you're getting, and you know what you paid for it, and that's an okay deal. But you know you're not getting steak. Well, the Eachine Tyro 79 is like the Taco Bell soft taco of quadcopters. It's really inexpensive, and like, you will get what it says on the box, but it's really, a lot of corners have been cut to get the price down. How much is a Taco Bell soft taco these days?
My guess would be $1.59.
I don't want to live in this world anymore. I don't want to.
Ooh, I was close.
Whatever. These pictures are extremely complimentary, I would like to say. Anyone who's eaten at Taco Bell knows that is not what they come out looking like. $2.69 for a soft taco supreme. Jeez, what are you getting? You getting the supreme? You getting some sour cream? Yeah, I'm paying another 90 cents for some sour cream and some tomatoes. Come on, I'll bring my own sour cream. Yep, Garter Rotor. I remember 49-cent soft tacos. Anyway, I don't think the Tyro 79 is a good first build because I don't think you can buy it. There you go.
What do you? Just quickly. I mean, I know you have a kit. There's different options for building drones, right?
Yeah.
But like somebody in chat mentioned that, you know, don't recommend crappy drones to new people. Why would you recommend a crappy build kit? And that's not what you did. You didn't recommend it. He asked about it. But like, what would you say to that person? Like, you know, it's hard to judge.
Here's
right?
the thing.
It's like
Here's the thing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. Let's talk about the Eachine Wizard. The Eachine Wizard, was maybe it's. I think they might still made a new version of it. But back in the day, back in like 2017 timeframe, the Eachine Wizard was like $100, and you got a quadcopter. I don't remember what the kit was. It was definitely less than $200 for sure. Maybe a 150. You got a controller, a battery, a charger, a quadcopter. They all came out of the box. Literally, all you had to do was turn the controller on, put the props on, and go fly. And it was an absolute piece of trash. The ESCs just died randomly. One day you'd plug the quadcopter in and the ESC would just go up in smoke. It flew bad. It was trash. And I wanted to roast it. I never did it. I did a review of it eventually, and I'm going to tell you why. For the longest time, I pretended the damn thing didn't exist because I thought I cannot in good faith recommend or suggest or even imply that anybody should buy this damn thing. And then I heard from people, and people would say, yeah, the Eachine Wizard was a piece of trash. It was my first drone. I wouldn't be in this hobby if I had never bought a Wizard. Because everything else was so expensive that it was a deal breaker for me, and I just didn't want to commit. And I spent $150 on an Eachine Wizard. I loved it. It died. I bought the next thing, and it got me into the hobby. And I heard that message so many times that eventually I went, okay, I just need to get off my high horse. And like, there's a difference between like having principles and standards and then just like kind of putting yourself up on a pedestal and being like, I'm too good for all this garbage that the normal people use. And I thought, okay, I have to see which way the wind is blowing. And I feel the same way about the Tyro 79. And there was also a Tyro 119, which I think was a 7-inch drone or maybe a 6-inch drone. I heard from so many people who built those things and loved them, or at least felt like they got their money's worth, despite the fact that they were worse quality in terms of their hardware. And I went, okay, I hear what you're saying. Like, at the end of the day, I think that it's very tempting as a reviewer to think like you know better and you know what people should do. And on some level, as a reviewer, your job is to say, here's what you should do. Like, on some level, your job is to say, here's a product, you decide. But like on some level, every reviewer has to think they know better than that, they have some special insight that they can offer. And maybe they know better than the rest of the people who are watching. Right? And it's tempting to get in that and say, this is a bad product, don't buy it. But when you hear from a bunch of people who actually spent their money and still like the product, no matter how bad you think it is, you have to take that into account. So, there you go. Let's check the Super Chats again. We've got a few more Super Chats coming in. Thank you, Klaus Anderson, for 20 Danish kroner. Let's just make sure that Klaus's question didn't get overlooked. I don't see it tagged. No, I just see a donation. Thank you, Klaus, for your donation. Thank you, Pot Kass, for 35 South African Rand. Will you ever do a 5-inch X8 build video? I love a drone with motor redundancy. I wouldn't hold your breath, Pot Kass, especially because as long as you're running Betaflight, even if you have an X8, you still don't have redundancy because unless if you have coaxial X8, then you will have redundancy because Betaflight will not be, the mixer will be able to handle it. As long as Betaflight is set to a quadcopter mixer. So I got a hexacopter from Flywoo a little while back and tested it with a motor, because a hexacopter should be able to fly with one motor missing. It should become a quadcopter, basically. And it didn't. And the short version of the story is that Betaflight's mixer doesn't know how to recognize that a motor has failed and disable that motor. And so Betaflight's mixer, even if you have redundancy, will get confused when a motor fails and the quadcopter will crash. The only way around this would be if there's a way you can build an X8 where you have a coaxial X8 where the motors are top and bottom of each other, and both motors are driven off a single motor output, so that Betaflight is running a quadcopter mixer and Betaflight doesn't know that there are two motors running off the same output. In that case, the quad would keep flying if one motor failed. But other than that, as long as you have an octocopter mixer, Betaflight will not keep flying if one motor fails. It doesn't know how to do that. Now, if you're talking about a flight controller like Argipilot, that's a different story. I don't know if you guys can see this on the back there. Does that look familiar? No, it doesn't. Because it's nothing like any drone I've built in the last 8 years. Check this out, Blunty. What do you think of that?
I think it belongs at a museum.
Well, you say that, sir. This is the latest and greatest. This is a Holy Bro Pixhawk 6X Argipilot Pixhawk flight controller. This thing's like $350.
Yeah, it's just definitely a different application than we're used to. That's for sure.
Yeah, ow! I poked myself with the prop. Yeah, I realized that I don't know a damn thing about Pixhawk. I've built an iNav bird. I wouldn't call myself an iNav expert. I've built an iNav bird though, and I was like, there's a giant gap in my knowledge. So I actually asked Holy Bro if they would send me. That's the Holy Bro dev kit. And they did. A video will come out about it soon. But I have now officially built an Argipilot Pixhawk bird. And, so, my new tutorial will be coming out soon. No. And that flight controller will do redundancy, 100%. But Betaflight won't. Will iNav? I don't know about that. Maybe it will. I built that thing, Blunty, and I have to say I was very underwhelmed at the end of it. And I'm gonna caveat that. I was underwhelmed because I built it, and then at the end I had a quadcopter that doesn't fly very well compared to an FPV drone, and doesn't hold position as good as a DJI drone. And I'm like, what? Why would you build one of these? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're kind of just in the center. Does it have optical flow on it?
So no, but it could, but it doesn't.
I see. So okay.
Its position hold is just GPS based, and of course that means it's kind of all over the place. It'll stay within about a 2 meter or 3 meter box, which is not that great. So I could put optical flow on it. Optical flow sensor, another $100. Laser rangefinder, $200, etc., etc., etc. That kit is already like a $500 or $600 kit, and I'm like, why would I not just buy a DJI, a Mavic, Mavic Mini?
I think you've essentially explained why they are where they are in the market, right?
Absolutely, this is why DJI is the best. But I tried, but I don't want to. I'm not really doing a good job as a content creator if I take my first impression and go, "This is stupid. No one should buy this," and then just leave. I have to think deeper, because a lot of people out there are flying like Pixhawk flight controllers. Who are they? Why are they doing it? And the answer is that you see Pixhawk flight controllers. Well, first of all, you see them on airplanes, like bigger airplanes. Stuff that isn't a multi-rotor, stuff that DJI doesn't make. You want to fly for 45 minutes with a fixed wing, with VTOL capability, Well, DJI doesn't offer that. You're going to be doing that but you can build it with a Pixhawk flight controller. And you see it like that flight controller has redundant gyros, redundant compasses, redundant barometers. It's got all kinds of sensor fusion stuff where if something fails or is giving bad readings, basically anytime you have a drone where if you fail safe or have a hardware failure, you don't want it to just fall to the ground and die. That's when those flight controllers start becoming interesting. And so looking at that drone, I go, what's the point of this? But if you think of that as a test bed, and you're going to take what you learn and develop there and put it on a piece of, a $30,000 Cinelifter or an agricultural drone. Now it starts to make sense. Maybe. Yeah. So like as Garter Rotor points out, the FreeFly Alta runs Pixhawk. Absolutely. Yep. So I have to kind of get out. I look at that drone and I go, that drone is pointless. And you're right. That drone is pointless. That drone is like, building a little go-kart. And you look at the go-kart and you go, well, this thing can't drive me to the grocery store and it can't like go around the racetrack. And it's like, no, it's what you learn from building the go-kart that takes you forward to bigger and better things. Okay. Continuing with the super chats. Gamma Gonad says, I've been dealing with a PinIO reassignment issue using a Menace RC LED driver. I know that you'll help without a donation, but I'm just glad to have you back as part of my Sunday ritual. Thank you, Gamma Gonad, for a $10 donation. And yeah, I'll absolutely help you out with that as best I can. Squirrely, thank you for a $10 donation. Afternoon, gents, I want to build a Master 5 V2. Seems cheaper by about $100 to build. Or am I missing parts when I price it out? Motors, ESC, frame kit, etc. SpeedyBee Master 5 V2. What you're saying is you're whoops. Go ahead.
Isn't that the frame with the stack mounting that makes it vibrate?
Yep, but we're not gonna harp on that again.
Sorry.
No, I'm not like reprimanding you. I'm just saying he's settled on this frame and he wants to build it, so we're not going to try and like talk him out of it. He's going to let him make his own decisions.
He might not know, that's all. He might not be aware.
Fair. What Blunty's talking about is this frame has a soft-mounted insert here, and the flight control stack. The idea is that this soft-mounted insert will protect the flight control stack from vibration. However, some people say that it causes problems and causes excess vibration. Other people have good results with it. So now you know. But I think what he's saying is that when he parts out the quad, it's $100 cheaper to buy the parts and build it himself compared to what SpeedyBee is charging for it. That's it doesn't surprise me that a bind and fly would be more expensive than buying the parts individually. However, it's because obviously they have to build it, so you're paying for the labor. However, I will say, historically, most of the time, a bind and fly is cheaper than buying the parts individually, or right about the same price, and you basically get the labor for free. And the reason for that is like, if you look at an iFlight bind and fly, iFlight makes all the parts that go into the iFlight bind and fly. So when iFlight buys them, they buy them from themselves at their own cost. The profit margin is built in. And then you buy the bind and fly, and you basically get the labor for free. If you price out the parts on the SpeedyBee Master and it comes out $100 cheaper, then you know what you have to do. You're going to build it yourself, I guess. That seems a little surprising that there's a $100 differential. I would just make absolutely sure I was looking at the exact same parts. But that doesn't seem like ludicrous. Yeah. Jordan Cowan says, hi, I'm getting into FPV. I'm looking to get a premium set of goggles. What do you think is the best option? I'm looking for walk snail and analog compatible. If you have no intent to fly HD0, then probably I would tell you to pass on the HD0 goggles, even though they are excellent goggles and can do walk snail and analog. It just seems like you're going to get a more compact package by going with a different set of goggles. But then where does that leave you, right? Well, you could look at the SkyZone 04X Pro that we looked at earlier with a Walksnail standalone video receiver, and that's going to get you Walksnail and analog. You could certainly look at the Walksnail Goggles X that I showed earlier in the stream. However, as I said, the analog support for it is pretty clunky. For example, there's no DVR, and some people would feel that was a deal breaker. If you use analog with the Walksnail Goggles X, you're also going to need like a ground station. There is not currently an easy way to mount an analog module on the Goggles X. So I think the Goggles X they have analog support so they can tick the box, but it doesn't seem like a really great option. The Goggles X seem mostly for people who are going to be doing Walksnail. Maybe the HD0 goggles are the best choice. Like, you've got the HD0 receiver in there that maybe you're never going to use, but I use the HD0 goggles as my primary analog goggle, and they're a little bit kind of big and clunky, but they're good. They're great analog goggles. I would be mighty tempted by the SkyZone Pros that we looked at earlier in the stream. SkyZone Pros are a solid analog goggle. They're compact. And if you had a good mount for the Walksnail VRX, I think it could be a good package. Bum Troll, thank you for €6. I hear a high C battery can have risks. What are the downsides to a low C battery? What are the risks of a high C battery? Well, I wish you'd said more about that. I've heard stories of people with like a little 2S quadcopter that came with a PH 2.0 connector, and people replaced it with an XT30 connector, and they were frying the flight controller because the XT30 had less resistance and was letting current surges through that fried it. Like, other than that, I'm not sure what a possible risk of a higher C battery is. Higher C batteries are more expensive, but other than that, you want high C. The downsides of a low C battery is you get a lot of voltage sag. Lots of voltage sag when you hit the throttle, and the battery gets super hot and puffs up and gets damaged. Any recommendations on the best 7-inch frame to buy? Thank you for €2 from Mato FPV. I would, if you want to buy a frame and build it yourself, I like the GepRC Moz 27. It is a relatively roomy frame. It's relatively durable. Like the iFlight Chimera frame is super sleek and super good looking, but like it's so tight. If I had to actually build in it, I would just hate myself. So I like the GepRC Moz 27. It's not the only good 7-inch frame, but it's one that I've reviewed recently and really like the look of it. I wouldn't say it's the best because there's other 7-inch frames out there that people really like that I wouldn't want to insult them by suggesting that the Moz 27 is better. It's just one that came across my radar that I really liked. Fred Wild, thank you for a $5 super chat. You got me into FPV, and now I'm finally starting to fly acro. You also helped me find a way to fix the USB on my iFlight flight controller, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Fred, for the donation, and welcome to the hobby. It's good to have you here. Damir FPV, thank you for 55 Turkish lira. I am building an 8S HDLRC Recon 10 with Zing 3110 motors, 900 kV, T-Motor F55 Pro 3, good. Maytech Beck 12S Pro between the ESC. Is it okay? So I'm going to tell you, if you've already spent your money and you're locked into this hardware, more power to you, nothing wrong with it. I would recommend anybody doing an 8S build, check out the Foxier Reaper ESC and flight controller combo. The reason I say that is the flight controller is rated for 8S, and you do not need a separate voltage regulator like you're going to need if you go with the T-Motor ESC and a T-Motor flight controller, okay? So if you haven't bought that hardware yet, or if you're willing to put that T-Motor ESC and flight controller in a different build, you could, by the way, you could buy the Foxier flight controller and redo the pinout to make it work with the T-Motor ESC. It'll just be a little bit of a hassle. But yeah, a 12S Beck between the ESC and the 6S flight controller, it's okay. That is a way you could do it. Christopher Conkright, thank you for a $5 super chat. Let me just check and see if Christopher left a message left a question in another message. He did. Oh, here's another super chat. Thanks for another $5 super chat, Christopher. I have a receiver that does a quick green flash when plugged in, and that's it. I checked the wiring. Nothing is touching. If that happened to me, I'm going to assume, Christopher, that it's an Express LRS receiver, because I think we talked about this in email, but I'm not 100% sure. What I would do is I would disconnect the TX and RX wires from the receiver, because sometimes the receiver can get like kicked into bootloader mode or something weird by the TX and RX wires. It's also possible that you just have a bad receiver. It might be possible to flash the receiver using bootloader mode. Did Radio Master just release a program? Somebody, dang it, I'm blanking. Blunty, somebody just released a programming adapter. It wasn't the Beta FPV one. So Beta FPV has one. Somebody else just released one. I'm blanking. Do you have any idea, Blunty? Probably not.
I do not, sorry.
So you could use this. This is the Beta FPV recovery dongle. This, if you have a CP210 or an FTDI adapter already, you can use it to flash an Express LRS receiver, but it's a little bit of a hassle to hook up the wires. The advantage of this is that it comes with these, I think they're called pogo pins, and it's really easy to just flash the receiver just by touching the pins.
Chat says it is Radio Master.
Radio Master did. Why can't I find it, though? Help me, chat. Help me, chat. Captain Bry, Express LRS Dev. Captain Bry, you're a moderator. You could post a link, too. The reason I was excited about this is that I always kind of hold my nose when I buy Beta FPV hardware, because Beta FPV hardware sometimes is very poor quality. This programming adapter, I haven't heard anything bad about it. I'll probably buy one right now. But if Radio Master made one, I would buy the Radio Master one first, just because I like them better as a brand. Okay, so we could go with the Beta FPV one. And if you've got an Express LRS receiver that is bricked, this is a way. If it's possible to restore it, this will do it. It may not be possible because it may just be damaged.
Is that one I just posted in chat? Is that right?
Oh, now that I think it is. Thank you, Blunty. Oh man, it's good to be back as a team, Blunty. But the question is, does it come with pogo pins? Because that's the big advantage of the Beta FPV one. Multiple protection circuits, fine. Easily upgrade firmware. Does it come with this? This here, does it come with this? Or do I have to buy this? You're showing me a picture. Yeah, did you provide it? Package includes Rauk FPV. Thank you, Rauk FPV, in the Discord. Oh, amazing. Oh, wow. Oh, Radio Master. I'm doing the Vince McMahon meme. Oh. Oh, wow. We got test hooks. Oh, Radio Master. See? I knew I liked Radio Master better than Beta FPV. And it's the same price. Boom! Buy with PayPal. Okay, now I have to get this off screen. Okay, I'm going to buy that today. Okay. Awesome. No reason to buy the Beta FPV one. Same price, more stuff. Okay. Whatever happened to the 30 Days of Spang series? Thank you, Stephen Woodruff, for $2. I ran out of steam, and I don't know. Sometimes you have this idea, and it seems like a good idea, and then it doesn't pan out. I understand that as a content creator, it is it's bad for me to tell you guys I'm starting a series and then not finish the series. Like, I should have just started the Spang series and not said it was 30 days. It's kind of like when you say, hey, if I buy a smaller pair of pants, then that'll motivate me to lose weight so I can fit the pants. Okay, I hear that people do that. I've never done that. I just buy clothes that fit me. But like, you're aspirational and you think you're going to, and so I started the series and I thought, I'd like to do that. I'd like to be better at Spang. That sounds like, and I thought maybe if I say it'll be a 30-day series, that will motivate me to really to do it. And it didn't, especially because I started the series like in November or December, and then it got super cold. And then it was like super cold and I didn't want to go out and fly. So that's what happened. And I feel bad that I told you guys I was going to do 30 days and then I didn't. Because as viewers, when you see that a series is starting, you get excited, and then it's annoying when a creator says they're going to do something and then they don't do it. I try to keep that to a minimum, but that's what happened to that one. It also turned out that I sucked at Spang more than I expected to. I thought if I really, okay, we're going to do this. And I got a couple things. I can eject now. That little Spang move where you kind of go, whop, right? I've got that. That's just in my rotation. I'll whip out and eject, no problem. I've got some little Spangy moves in my freestyle now that I didn't before. But, I never started to actually look like Spang. The next video I'm going to make, if I make another one, will be trying linear rates. Someone told me that Spang, you need linear rates. I was like, because that makes the moves snappier. I'm actually kind of interested to do that. Maybe I will. But I'm sorry that I said I was going to do 30 days. I should have just said a Spang and not said 30 days. So, yeah, it's been a year since I started that. We're coming up on a year. Yeah.
It seems like a good time to ask. I know you're doing the intro to FPV series. Do you have a section where you're going to talk about rates?
I mean, I have a rates video, but when I think it's okay to do it on the default rates. I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for anyone.
Gotcha.
Why? You think I should?
I've seen this. It's one of those things where you see one thing, you see 10 of them. But I've seen a bunch of people asking, including in my DMs and stuff, and in Discord about how they choose their rates as a new pilot. It's often, it's a very common question, I think, right? And and one thing I saw was we talked about that book from a while back. I'm gonna forget the name of it, but it's that FPV book that the guy made.
Yeah, no, I have that. I literally have that sitting right over there. Hold on, let me go.
Okay.
Because people, this one by Christian Malika.
Yes.
I keep this nearby to inspire me. If you guys don't know about this book, little plug for this book. This is not a paid advertisement or anything. This is a really cool book. Christian Malika is the guy who made it. FPV Flight Dynamics. And it's so, do you like diagrams to help you think about FPV flight? This is such a cool book. It's so cool that someone made it, right? 100%, if you love FPV, go buy this book. It's worth every penny. Can you still buy it? I assume it's print on demand. Okay, go ahead, Blunty, though. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So the reason I ask is because someone posted a picture of the rates from in there, and they've got low, medium, and medium rates. The one thing I noticed was the low and low medium are linear rates. And I wondered what you thought about a new pilot learning a linear rate versus a more of an exponential rate we typically see, right?
What are the default rates, though? Are they linear? In liftoff?
I have to go put it in. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll answer that question, though. I will say I have a video that I put out today called Find Your Perfect Rates with Science. And so anybody who is curious about how to find ideal rates for themselves, I suggest you watch this video and follow the procedure in this video. As far as linear rates go, I would almost always want to have some curve in the rates. if you take the rates down as low as maybe 300 degrees per second, you can still benefit a little bit from a little bit of expo to give you some more center sensitivity. I would say that beginners should probably be learning with lowish rates, but 600 degrees per second is okay. Like when I teach people to fly the standard rates that are usually on there, it's not the Betaflight default rates. I like to have a little more of an expo curve, but they're in the range of about a high 500 to low 600 degrees per second, and they all learn to fly that way. The expo helps even it out. I wouldn't suggest somebody learn to fly with linear rates. I don't think that people think linear rates are more predictable, and in a way they are, but that center stick sensitivity is so valuable, especially to beginners.
And then one more little rate thing. You might have put it in the video, but do you suggest everybody starts at like starter rates? Like how long do you need to stay on a rate before you know if it's for you? I'm sure this is all in the video. And then do you think you like should push up to a rate you expect to go to, like watch a person you fly and get there, or like feel what's comfortable, or like, because I know it's tough to like, you can't just start at 800, right? Or maybe you can.
No, I mean, with enough expo, you could start at 800, but I probably wouldn't recommend that. So like what I think something like the 533 rates, I fly 533 rates with 40% expo. Evan Turner flies 533 rates with, I think, no expo. But I like a little more expo. And I think that that's like the much below about 300 is going to be very difficult to fly. Maybe as low as 250 or 200, but like I wouldn't have anybody below about 300. So the difference between 300 and 500 is not like that much in terms of your ability to control the drone, especially with expo. So I would start somebody in the range of, say, 500 to 600 degrees per second with some expo. And then, like, if they're a racer, that's probably where they're going to stay. Like, a lot of racers run Evan Turner's 533 rates. And that number is not arbitrary. Like, that number comes from, if you watch, like, a top racer fly, as they're going around the track, when they do, like, a hairpin turn, bang, you'll hear the stick hit the edge of the gimbal. And what they're doing is they've tuned their rates so that the sharpest turn they want to make, boom, the stick is all the way over and hitting the edge of the gimbal. And then they don't need to turn any faster than that. And so they're maximizing their precision. So that's sort of where that 533, I mean, exactly 533. Well, could it be 532? Obviously, there's a little give there. But that's where that number comes from. And then the only reason I think why you would want to go faster is if you are a freestyle pilot who wants to be able to do snappy flips and rolls. And then the question is just, you're going to find somebody who's flying you like, as you suggested, Blunty, and you're going to try to see how fast their rates are and how fast you need to spin and start working your rates up. I've heard from people who say that they like to have higher rates because they want to make smaller stick movements. And so they can make a sharper, faster stick movement if they have higher rates. And the problem with that is I think most people lose a lot of precision when they do that. When I started reducing my rates, I used to fly at around 11 or 1200. And because there was a time when all the freestyle pilots had super high rates and were doing super fast flips and rolls. And when I brought my rates down to 900, I noticed a big improvement in my precision and my ability to hit lines and gaps. And then for racing, I go down to 533, which further increases it. But it's hard for me to imagine. The only person I can really imagine wanting to be below, like, around 500 is somebody who, like, maybe you're doing internal fly-throughs of a house with a Cinewhoop and you want really low rates so you can make really slow, precise movements. I don't know. Is that sort of in the ballpark of what you were asking?
100%. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's perfect.
Okay, awesome. Sir Crash-A-Lot, thanks for 50 Norwegian kroner, because you are my go-to in my drone world. Twisted Carbon, thank you for $5 super chat. I fly the Tyro 79 and I enjoy it. Just needed some tuning. It's a fun beginner drone at a great price point. I 100% agree that it's a fun beginner drone at a great price point. Rauk FPV, if Bubby flies freestyle at 450, That surprises me. But I mean, it's like Vanover flies around 700, and you just get to this point where you kind of can't do snappy moves. And if you never want to do snappy moves, okay, but I feel like you're kind of leaving some tools out of your toolkit. Like, it's like saying, you know, I'm going to play a musical instrument, but I'm never going to hit the black keys. I'm only going to play in the key of C natural. You know, why wouldn't you incorporate all the sort of tools at your disposal? And I feel like if your goal was to fly smooth and flowy at 450 degrees per second, you could accomplish that while still having an expo curve that let you hit 600 or 700 degrees per second if you went to full stick. But that's just my opinion. Also, Bubby flies with a spoiler on his drone, so no one should listen to anything he says anyway. I'm teasing. But also, that spoiler is the bane of my existence. I still haven't been able to figure out if Bubby is trolling me with the spoiler or if he actually believes it makes him fly better. And that upsets me more than the spoiler itself. Anyway. Bum Troll says, I've been watching videos about making your own lithium-ion packs. Seems nice and cheap. Would you do it? Thanks for €6. I mean, I've built my own 2S lithium-ion packs for goggles. I think for larger packs, I'm not sure it will be worth the trouble. But it just depends on where you are on the time versus money equation. It's certainly something you could do. Squirrely, thank you for a $2 super chat. But Blunty's right. I didn't know about the Speedy Bee. And you're going to go with the QAVS instead? Well, I mean, I like it. Thank you, RBB, for a 20 reais. Super chat. Let's just check and see if there's a question here. Real quick. I'm looking to buy my first digital system. I want clear image and some longevity in the product. I looked at Walksnail and not DJI. What's the best option for freestyle and video shooting? If you want longevity in the product, I think for DJI, a typical lifespan of like a DJI product generation is about 4 years. Now, that's a fair amount of longevity. If you were to buy a Goggles 2 and an O3 Air unit today, I think you could be pretty confident you're going to get another 3 or maybe 4 years out of them. But like, people still fly the Vista today, even though it's not the latest and greatest. The V2 goggles are slowly harder and harder to get. You can still get them on the used market. But I would say because of the lack of availability of the V2 goggles, I think, like, you can't buy V2 goggles new anymore. If anybody knows, like, some store that has them in the back of the warehouse and you want them, you better get them. Like, because I know wholesale customers, people who want to buy 10 or 20 V2 goggles for, like, they want to sell them, basically, and they want stock, and they can't get them. They just can't get them. So the V2 goggle is at the end of its life. It's not like your V2 goggle that you own will stop working. Obviously, it'll keep working, but you're not going to be able to get it anymore. So, you know, when did it come out? In September 2019, I believe, if my memory's correct, is when the DJI V2 came out, or the V1, the DJI Air unit. And now it's 2023, so that's like 4 years, almost exactly 4 years. So, you know, that's a long time. So I wouldn't rule DJI out if longevity is your only concern. But, you know, how long is Walksnail gonna... Walksnail's going to put out a new product in August, theoretically. So, but I think Walksnail, I'm not trying to talk you out of Walksnail. Like, Walksnail offers a lot of things that DJI doesn't offer. The best option for freestyle and video shooting, if you want to record like video from your FPV camera, the O3 is the choice, hands down, period. If you want to use the FPV system to record on a GoPro or another camera, then Walksnail is fine. Got to double blind the spoiler to know if it's actually better. I mean, the spoiler, it creates drag, right? I don't know if you could tell the difference. I don't for a second believe it makes you fly better, though. Like,
Maybe
do you remember? Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny. It's a funny idea because the entire point of a spoiler is for downforce, right?
Right.
Like
Exactly. It's for downforce. Yeah. And you don't need downforce on a drone. That's dumb. What was that drone that had the waffle arms? It was by... Oh, I'm blanking on the company's name. They make the $30 motors. And they make that racing frame. Blunty, come on, man. Who am I thinking of? Carreria. Ha ha ha! I found it. Yeah, like, remember this?
I'll say it. Nearly every quadcopter frame is basically just a rubber stamp of a frame that came before it.
Oh my god, my audio is so bad.
Seems to try to put new, really go own it. Hats off to Carreria for that, and I couldn't be. But isn't the whole point of Carreria waffle wings? Just what I'm going to keep calling them. By adding of the quadcopter.
Hey, look at this.
And that's increase the float time of the.
Pause. Yeah, so the idea was that they'd add this drag, which would increase the float time, but it also made the quad incredibly inefficient because you needed more. It decelerated. It had no float. It had float upside down, but it had no fling, and it also changed the angle that you were tilted at because as you're going forward, it's pushing down. Honestly, I don't think the spoiler on Bubby's quad is actually big enough to have much noticeable effect. Either way, I just think it's the idea of a spoiler is that you want downforce, and it's silly to have more downforce on a quadcopter. Anyway. Continuing with the super chats. Thank you for a $10 super chat from Lucas Lujan. Thanks for help getting WTFOS and MSPOSD to work on my Caddx Polar Vista and DJI goggles too. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I was able to help with that, and thank you for the donation. Speed Limit Challenger. Thank you for a $10 super chat. New to the FPV hobby and looking to mount my Insta360 Go 3, in which I came across the Flywoo Flylens analog. What batteries, charger, and props do you recommend? The Flywoo Flylens I recommend. For micro drones, I start with whatever the manufacturer recommends. Because micro drones are very sensitive to the weight of the battery and the size of the battery. Like the frame will have been made to hold a battery of a certain size, and the motors will have been designed around a battery of a certain weight. And so I would probably stick with or start with what the manufacturer recommends. And then you could go from there. But start with what they recommend. And what they recommend, I think, is a 750 milliamp hour, but let me check. Do we have a battery? Battery, 550 or 750. So I think that we're going to go with a 750 milliamp hour because you're carrying that camera, so you need a little bit more power. And I would go with the 750 milliamp hour that they recommend. And as for the charger, this is a 2S battery, isn't it? Yeah, it's an XT30. Is it an XT30? It's a 2S, right? 2S, yeah. So you're going to just get whatever charger you like. There, I would just get a standard desktop charger on my website, fpvknowitall.com. Oh, good to see you again. LiPo chargers, just any of these chargers you can get. You're just going to use an XT30 to XT60 adapter. You could also get a parallel board, but parallel charging has its downsides, and some people don't like it. I don't know of any chargers that are dedicated XT30 chargers for 2S batteries. Same deal with the props. Use whatever props they sell it with and start from there, because they'll have tuned it in the way that they think it should be. What's Fat Shark going to do now that Caddx has kind of pushed them out? Thank you for a $20 super chat. Good question, Justin Waller. Fat Shark will need to do something to remain relevant because Fat Shark doesn't make any Avatar VTXs. They make one set of goggles, the Recon HD, which is a walk snail box goggle. I don't know how many people are buying that. And this Dominator has been their big thing in some ways. But now the Goggles X are here, and Walk Snail is going to be coming up with a new receiver, supposedly releasing in August of 2024. We'll see about that. But once that new receiver comes out, the V1 Dominator is going to decrease in value. The ability to buy a V1 when the V2 system is here is going to go down. Like, that's a fact. It's always how it goes. So, excuse me. I haven't talked for 2 hours on a live stream in a while. My voice is not is out of shape. I think that Fat Shark will need to develop their own goggle. Like, if I'm Fat Shark, like, what do I know? I don't know. Obviously, Fat Shark is a multi-million-dollar company. They know things I don't know. But, like, if I'm Fat Shark, then I'm looking at the new Goggle X and going, okay, well, I have to have a response to this. Otherwise, no one's going to buy my stuff pretty soon. So if I'm Fat Shark, I'm developing a new goggle. Hopefully, they're already working on it. So that in August of 2024, if and when that deadline is actually met, when Walk Snail releases their new system that has 5 times the range and whatever, their new hot shit system, Fat Shark has a goggle that can compete with the Goggles X. However, here's the problem. Walk Snail has to sell the receiver boards to Fat Shark for Fat Shark to put the boards in their new goggles. Walk Snail is the source for those. And maybe they will or maybe they won't. Because if I'm Walk Snail, on one side I could say, sure, Fat Shark wants to make goggles with my receivers in them. I'll sell you the receivers. Go ahead. But if I'm Walk Snail, I might also say, no, I'm not going to help Fat Shark compete with me. I'm going to make my goggles, and my goggles are going to be the only ones, and Fat Shark can go to hell. And I don't know which of those two attitudes is the one that is going to be most successful for Walk Snail. So, thank you, MNTLFPV. Linear rates, essential for Spang. Thank you for a $2 super chat. Noozle3D. Hey, good to see you again, Julian. Recently switched over to printables.com/Noozle3D for easier STL downloads. We're also wanting to grow the library further, so design requests are appreciated. Thank you for a $10 donation, Noozle. Yeah, Noozle, I have thought about asking the guy who uploads the QAVS STLs to switch over to printables from Thingiverse. I personally always go to printables first. It's so much better than Thingiverse. So agree with you there. Coelho FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm sure this has been asked before, but is it okay to direct solder to an 18650 or 21700? Yes, it is. It is okay. Spot welding will put less heat into the cell and be less likely to damage the cell due to heat. But for high current discharge, spot welding sometimes doesn't do the job. I've seen, like, if you open up a GEP-RC 6S 21700 pack, their 6,000 milliamp hour pack. If you, that's not 20, that's an 18650, but anyway. If you open up a GEP-RC 6S 6,000 milliamp hour pack, you'll see that it doesn't have like nickel metal bars, but it actually literally has wires soldered to the cells. So I don't know if they're spot welded. I don't know. Can you spot weld wires? Some people will actually prefer to direct solder. What you need to do is you need to sort of abrade the surface a little bit, like with a file or with some sandpaper, buff up the surface so it takes the solder easier. And then you need the soldering iron to be as hot as possible, and you need to finish that joint as fast as possible. Christopher Conkright, thank you for a $2 super chat. I got Speedy Bee. How do I know if vibes are an issue? Well, if your quadcopter flies good, then that's all that matters. If vibrations were an issue, you would have a lot of trouble with the PID tune. You might have hot motors and so on. But if it flies good, don't worry about it. Oh, my goodness, we're caught up on super chats. Fantastic. We've got just about 10 minutes left in the stream. Does Aaron Ciotti still stream at 3 on Sundays? I've been gone so long, I have no idea. Anybody in the chat know? Let's take a few more. We have 39 questions queued up. Suffice to say, we will not get to all of them. Anybody whose question we don't get to, you're welcome to email me, Joshua Bardwell at nope, not that one. jb@joshuabardwell.com. There we go. jb@joshuabardwell.com. You can email your question. I will do my best to answer it. It's never possible to get to all the questions on the live stream, so don't feel left out, though. Let's take a few more questions, though. Smudge wants to know, you know how on DJI you have Cine, Normal, and Sports? Is there an easy way to do something similar on Betaflight? Yes, there is. Well, easy is relative. But what I would refer you to is this video. Betaflight 4.1 rate profile with jumper T16 6-position switch. Don't worry about the fact that you're not on Betaflight 4.1. Don't worry about the fact that you may or may not have a jumper T16. This shows you how to switch your rates in flight. That's the tutorial that you want. Let's see here. How do I make turning slower on my FPV? Please help. Well, you need to reduce the rates. Go into Betaflight. I assume you're using Betaflight. Go into Betaflight, go into the rate profile, go into the PID tuning tab, then the rate profile tab, and that is where you would reduce the rates. I would refer you back to my video, Find Your Perfect Rates with Science, that I referenced earlier.
Today we're going to talk
stream. Shush now. That I referenced earlier in the stream.
Today
that's this video right here.
We're going to talk about the most important.
Bardwell, take it easy. Not a fan of the color grade on this one. I think Fabio tried to be clever, and I think he like used a mask to mask me off, but like, the umbrella was open. This green sun umbrella was open, and there's actually green on my skin, and it doesn't look good. And then like something happened with my lips, where my lips look super red. Anyway. Yeah, anyway. What are you going to do?
I put a link in the chat to Ciotti's stream. It is scheduled, so I'm assuming he's doing
Okay, great. Ciotti's going to be streaming at 3, and you guys can head over there after I get off. Perfect. Thank you, Blenty. What high-range analog VTX would you recommend? Rush Tank Solo 2.5 watt is a good choice. Foxier Reaper 2.5 watt, also a good choice. And Geparcy also has a 2.5 watt. Any of them are good. But the Rush Tank Solo is one that I know is being used extensively for flights in the range of 10 to 20 kilometers and is really solid. King Roactive wants to know where they could get V2 DJI goggles from. Good luck. We were just talking about this. You basically can't buy them new. You have to source them used, and it's going to be a challenge. Can you fly a 5-inch in a neighborhood, or is it too loud? Rob Dang. I would not tell you to fly a 5-inch in a neighborhood, because if you lose control and crash, there are many, many things that you could crash into and damage. That being said, if you have good control and you fly safely, that's on you. As far as whether it's too loud, I mean, that just depends on your neighbors, right? Where I live out in the country, people set off fireworks. They ride their dirt bike down the road. Well, we don't really have noise complaints here. One of my neighbors had a wedding at their house, and there was really loud gospel music playing for all afternoon, and we just live out here and we just deal with it. If you're in a typical neighborhood, whether a 5-inch is too loud or not is, again, it's just going to depend entirely on your neighbors. I couldn't judge that. Mark Gurevich, I've had a twitching motor. If I go to high throttle too fast, the motor twitches, but if I gradually increase throttle, the motor works fine. The motor or ESC is damaged. Most likely you're missing one of the 3 phases, and that's why if you go slowly, the 2 phases are enough to help you keep it going. What you should do is you should replace the motor with a new one. If the motor still twitches and has the problem, it means the ESC is probably damaged. You need to replace the ESC. That's basically it. Unfortunately, the way to solve that problem is by spending money. Nasty FPV wants to know, what's the deal with 03 brownouts when using 10 volts? Just plug into FC. Is 10 volt not enough? 10 volts is plenty, but your voltage regulator may be undersized. In which case what I would do is I would just move it to battery voltage, assuming that it's less than 6S voltage, between 2S and 6S. You may just have a bad 10 volt regulator, but 10 volt in general is fine. Willie FPV points out that Chris Rosser posted a video testing a bunch of batteries and mentioned that you contributed. Yeah, I gave him my battery test machine. Well, I didn't like, technically I loaned it to him, but realistically I may never see it again. And that, we'll figure it out. But yeah, I figure he's the man to have it. And I'm looking forward to seeing his results coming out. Let's see here. Woo. New to the world of FPV, what are the best cheap analog goggles? Eachine EV, Echo Victor EV800DM, Delta. I don't know the NATO phonetic alphabet.
Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonti. And Delta, is D Delta, or is that just Greek letters? What's D?
Yeah, it's Delta. I'm 98% sure it's Delta, yeah.
All right, fair enough. And then you've got M, which is Mancy. What's that a reference to? There's a comedy sketch. Has anyone been able to configure Betaflight through ELRS Wi-Fi yet? Yup. Yes, I have. I have a video where I do it. Why can't you do it? Oh, well, we may never know. It's David for law enforcement, according to El Shingon FPV. Well, that's silly. Delta clearly makes more sense. Mancy is an Archer reference. Thank you, Brandon Beans. M as in Mancy. That does sound like an Archer joke. GMI Visual says if your Wi-Fi pass-through is not working, turn telemetry off. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Xander Hudetz says, hello, I'm a young teen. And immediately I put him in the spam filter, or them in the spam filter, because when a message starts, I'm a young teen, I tune right out. But then I kept reading, and it didn't go where I thought it was going to go. I've been into FPV for a few months now, and I'm looking for a digital setup. I'm going to go with the DJI setup, but I don't know if I should get the DJI V2 goggles or the goggles 2. The choice has been made for you. The V2 goggles are difficult to find. You may be able to get them used. Somebody said that DJI sells refurbished V2s on eBay. That may be true. I know that they're getting harder and harder to find. It would be hard for me to recommend that someone just getting started buy the V2 goggles today. The goggles 2 or the Integra and the 03 are the way of the future, and that's probably what you should get. If you can get them used, should you? If you already own a bunch of Vistas, sure. But if you're like leaning into the 03, then it's just clear that that DJI is moving away from the V2s, and that probably, like today, the V2 are fully compatible with the 03. But like when the 04 comes out, and I don't know when that might be, but like theoretically the next VTX, when it comes out, it won't be compatible with the V2s. So I don't know. I think you would be potentially doing yourself a disservice by locking yourself in. You currently, I'm not going to say you can't buy bind and flies with the Vista in it, but like all the bind and flies I can think of have moved to the 03. Like just the V2 and the Vista are on the way out. And if you already own a bunch of them, that's fine. They still work. But if you're just getting started, it would be hard for me to recommend that you invest in them. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, folks, that's going to bring us to the end of the stream. It is good to be back. It is good to chat with you guys again. It went pretty smoothly, Blunty. I feel like it went. How'd it go?
Yeah, I think we've been doing this long enough.
Yeah,
it worked out pretty well.
One thing I just thought of is sometimes in the past I have intentionally tried to keep the length of my answers, like not just pontificate for 20 minutes on one question, because that's terrible for the live stream clips. I feel like I kind of didn't remember to manage the length of my answers today.
I think it's fine.
All right, thank you. It's very supportive of you. Nice to know. We'll have another chance tomorrow to do it again. Tomorrow, Monday, 8 p.m. and Tuesday, 6 p.m. for the FPV News. Ciati, have a great stream. Blunty, good seeing you. You guys, good seeing you. That is going to do it.